Blinded by the light. That's what we're talking about. Hello, everybody. How are you doing? Unexpected Thursday. Things got reshuffled, and so the very last minute. So, hey, I always enjoy hanging out with some of the smartest people I know, y'all. So, welcome. Glad to see everyone. Hello, everyone in the chat room. There I am. Hello, Steiger. Winter is upon us, and it feels good. Yeah, yeah. The real cold sucks, but so does the real hot. But anyway, so what's up, everybody? It is Thursday. Normally, we would have in the past, and once we get everything in our lives back to the ritual. I don't know what normal is, but it's a ritual. We'll get everything back into its order. Perfect. I don't know. We're going to talk about that. But anyway, so welcome. Good to see everyone. Let me just speak favor over us all. Nothing missing, nothing broken. As I said, the favor, it's like, have you ever been surfing? The idea is as that wave is building is to catch it right as it peaks. So that's kind of favor, write it all the way through. Nothing missing, nothing broken, and be kind to your mind. You'll appreciate it. So what's everyone doing? Go, go, all the way from Croatia. How are you, sir? Angel Dreams, hello. Good to see you. Boston Space, what's up? Given that idea of doing the phone call thing, I think it'd be kind of cool with the ladies. Just me. Just thinking out loud. Loretta, how are you? Emperor Rex, good to see you. Who else? Chris, hello. Is that Maria? Take a letter, Maria. Bum, 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 bum. A great song. Several of them, in fact, on that one. Robin, good to see you. And Cody, hello. Stephanie Marie, good to see you as well. DC, what's up? So I go back here looking. Hello, Loretta. Good to see you as well. And it is not Nimrod's birthday yet. It's really a question of whether does Nimrod. We're going to talk about it. It's a conundrum. Emperor Rex, so good to see you. Favor be with you always. And Shy Fields, what's up? Susie Q, Felix, Fortuna. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's odd how we base. I was making notes here, and it's interesting because us humans, not even rightly sure what that means, but well, you've got PhDs can't tell you what a male or a female is. I mean, so, uh, but growing up, and we're taught a lot. Our minds are, you know, these sponges, and it's quite remarkable when you think about it. But anyway, the point is, much of what you are today as an adult is based upon that childhood period. If you had what they would call an idyllic situation, your perceptions of reality are different than from someone who faced many challenges. But the interesting thing is, we're still into the same reality matrix, if you wish, because it truly is that. And what we find going through life is that there are many conundrums. Um, we know that the first principle teaches us that the universe is mental. All right, so that gives you a clue right there. The second one is all paradoxes, all conundrums are solvable, have a solution. Hmm, okay. Um, who am I to argue with that? Everything I have learned by someone else's writings. Now, I have my own writings, which then would entail a summation of that which I have read before and then added to it. We all do it. Most just don't recognize it. And the information age is going to offer humanity some really interesting challenges because in times past, we really lived more in enclaves, communities. Cities have always been around, but so have the pagans, the country folk. The pagans are the ones who had the common sense. They were the ones who knew how to fix things. Um, and those groups had beliefs, you know, generations. If you were a stonemason, chances are you come from a long line of stonemasons. I don't think that's in the digital information age. I don't think that's even possible anymore because it's really redefining. Hello, Susie Q. What's up, hon? Good to see you. Elderberry, all the rest of you, Gilbert, and good to see y'all. Rick, how you doing? Neutrino Waves, what's up? Um, but it's true. And for me, when I look at the very beginnings of my life and I compared it to siblings, and it is interesting how even certain rights that you're not even aware of can have an influence. In my case, my mother, and in there, the details don't need to be brought out, but she came to visit, and it was so important for her that, and I don't know why it was me, but it was, she didn't do it with my brother. Um, but she snuck me out and went to the Catholic Church and then had me baptized by the rites of the Catholic Church. Now, you know, people for the most part don't think anything. They think, well, that's just tradition. But it's a ritual. And it is interesting when you look at my siblings and myself, how for myself, it's always been a spiritual journey. For the others, not so much. And could I contribute that to the fact of this act of faith of my mother in, risking, taking, and then having me go through that rite, and it's RITE, right? Um, did that impact or influence my life? It's a question that, you know, similar circumstances would demand an answer to it, right? I don't know. I guess that depends how you look at it. So here I am in where I am at life right now. Many of you are in the same journey. We're all on a different day, but we're still on a day. It's not the years that count, it's the days that count. How many days will you be allowed to be on planet Earth? Will it be 30,000? Will it be 20,000? What would that number be? We all have one. And during that point, you know, we go through many paths, many journeys, see things, experience things, some that you go, doesn't seem to make sense. Others, you go, all right. Sounds like you almost were anticipating it, right? And so for me, it's like, here's a conundrum. I'm taught that I'm alive, but yet I know death is inevitable. Okay, got that. And then I'm taught that, well, life comes from death. All right, that's a conundrum. You know, we are never taught to be afraid to be born, which we should. It's a very painful process. Everyone's afraid about dying, about is it painful? Brother and sister, let me just tell you right now, it isn't anything compared to what the birth was like. The birth really sucks. The birth is so painful, so intense that it shocks the body. The very mind, the brain is reshaped within to the carina. It's terrible. It is years ago I did a whole video on it, the rite of the passage of birth. It's terrible. That's all I got to say. So death is would be orgasmic compared to that. So we got that going for us. But it is a conundrum. All right. Um, we're taught that, well, particularly in the West, that we're somehow flawed. Okay. We work for perfection. Okay. We can't define perfection, but anyway. And then we get into each of us do, and this thing, well, am I mortal or am I immortal? Hmm. Makes one think, excuse me. Little thing going around here. Um, and so if I'm mortal, then that means I'm finite. Because it means I'm not eternal, but yet I'm taught that I have a soul that apparently can be killed even after death. That's weird. But I'm also told that I have a spirit. Okay. I'm also told by those physicists that whether they're, experimental or whatever they may be, theoretical, um, that energy can't be created and it can't be destroyed. It's in a process of change. Okay. So then what's this whole thing about death about? I'm in a body, I'm expending energy. I have to take in energy and then transmute that energy to my energy, right? But somehow or another, that is, you know, different. I don't know how, but somehow it is because it affects our body, right? Our bodies get older. Then you think, well, if that first and second laws of thermodynamics is correct, why death? What's the lesson to be taught in death? Um, Apparently, there's one to be taught because we're all heading for it. So, all right. So then, all right. So I guess we're supposed to be taking notes. Um, you know, so you get back to this thing of mortality, immortality. And then while we're on this journey, we're taught that there is a thing called God. If you're in the West, it becomes, masculine. It's the Abrahamic whole belief system. And then you're taught two different realities. You're taught number one, the reality of, well, you know, God is unseen, invisible. But then in the other side of reality, you'd be considered crazy if you told someone, I'm seeing a person right there, they're talking, but the other people look and there's nothing there. So who's the sane, who's the insane? There's a conundrum. So I'm supposed to believe in an unseen something that someone else wrote that defined what that unseen something was. And then I, who am apparently already flawed and not apparently smart enough to figure it out, I'm supposed to be reading this, and then that's supposed to be defining the construct of what would then be eternal. Because, you don't want to die. You're supposed to be afraid of death. Again, the conundrum is that, well, they certainly didn't teach us about birth. So why would they be teaching us about death? I mean, think about that. Well, we get back into this whole thing because what we are taught then reflects back into society, into culture. And whether you would be considered religious, non-religious, political, non-political, you still are. You're still immersed into it. So there's no escaping that. But still, each of us have these perceptions that we're taught that there's this invisible being that supposedly is perfect, right? And that somehow we're down here as an imperfect being and that's supposed to be normal. But it's a conundrum because as you continue to get closer to your, visa expiration date, you begin to, particularly if you've had a religion that you based your morals, your perceptions on how you act in life, um, whether you believe in karma, don't believe in karma, all religions have it. And so you go through that, and if you're primarily into the West, of the thinking is that, well, you have to be afraid of death because then you're going to be judged on what? Well, no, because of everything you said, everything you did. Yeah. Well, it may have not been what this unseen thing that we're taught, you know, God, yeah, going to judge you against. Well, for decades, I was afraid of that shit. It's like, yeah, that's when you want the blood cult, the whole blood thing. Well, I want the blood of Jesus. I claim the blood of Jesus. Think about this shit, man. I mean, it gets deep. And so, because the blood of Jesus will then cleanse me of my soul and make me white as snow, with no crimson stain. So, now think about it, that and that is the foundation of the reality that we are in today. I mean, that is the competing thought. Many other players on the field, but this one particularly has more of the players in the field than the others. And as a result of that, everything that we do outside of that is founded upon these principles were taught as children. Um, you know, we teach children that, the invisible friend is not really there. So we have to be taught unbelief because of what was belief, and that's how it really, and there's a conundrum. So we're told that this is what happens. And then it gets into this whole thing that, okay, so socially and culturally, we have laws. There's penalties if you break the laws. Um, and then that carries over into the spiritual context as well, the esoteric way. And you begin to examine that. And if you're here enough days, and if you're truly what I would call a philosopher, a thinker, all of you are. If you're watching me, you're definitely a deep thinker, an independent thinker, a free thinker. And so for myself, what I've learned is to challenge everything that I've been taught. You have to put it to the test. And if in fact we are eternal beings, and if in fact our consciousness, our memories are somehow transmuted at this point of when the brain dies, you know, then we're transformed into something else. And apparently we keep our memories, and the thinking is, well, then you're going to get all of your memories back. Okay, it's kind of far out. Um, is there going to be a judgment? You come to the conclusion that you go, well, what are you going to judge me on? You're going to judge me. So God is going to judge me according to its standards. Well, what if I don't believe in that God? What if I don't like that God? And why would I be judged by its character when I was never created as its God? I'm an individual. And if I'm flawed, I'm perfectly flawed. That's the whole point. To judge me because how I reacted to any one situation, no God can. Only you can. You have to understand that wisdom is not right or wrong. Conundrums, right? And as I said, I take this very seriously. Beginnings are really important. They're important for me. And the thing about it too is you dig deep enough into this, you realize there really is no beginnings. That is a false construct. It's an illusion because within every beginning, you find that there is an ending within that beginning. There's a conundrum that you can't go back far enough. You can't go forward enough. It, you find out that okay. So and then you have this conundrum that you say, well, all right, I can see in one level, why would there even be a need for a God? I mean, seriously, what does a God really do? If you say it creates, well, so do we. So what? I mean, what is the purpose of God, of any God? What are they supposed to do? And if you're into this whole dualism, judging, you're better than someone else, and then you throw curses and what you're taught this because this is how God works. God curses what it creates. It kills what it creates. That's why you do too. It kills dreams. That's what it does. Very proud of it. And all these attributes you find out are the very God that supposedly created all of this. And you're going, but wait a minute. It's supposed to be perfect. It's supposed to be loving, caring, unconditional, conundrums. Because quite frankly, for me, beginnings are important. And as you find out that there really is no beginning, it just can, no matter if you're looking at a beginning, it's an ending. And that's one of the biggest conundrums that that I personally have come into. Every beginning, I'm looking at an ending. And then that just has the desire that you want to peel back further. And the further you back, I mean, today, the gods that the world believes are gods are really very recent. They are a new set of gods. The Christian God hasn't been around. In fact, you can't define the Christian God. No one can really define that God. Um, Islam has an interesting take on theirs. And then, of course, you've got the other who says, well, ours was the first, and all the rest of them just copied or make variations. And you look at that and you go, okay. I asked this question of myself as I was writing these notes in here. I said, if you find an error, how can it ever be perfect? I mean, think about it. I was raised on the Bible, studied it, read it's just let's just say it was. And every time you find error, well, it's not error, it's your lack of ability of faith, understanding, being taught, you moron, that, it's like all these things. And so you pass that by. You give it a pass. See, the conundrum that when I say that we look for love is that we've never been taught love. If you say you believe in God, there's no freaking way you believe in love. You can't show me a God of love. There's the conundrum. Because the God of today, of the modern era, is at best schizophrenic. Um, I guess at worst insane. Depends on what your view is. Because we're taught of this dualism and we teach children this. Well, there is God, and then there's the devil. God good, devil bad. And, the interesting thing is that so children are taught, well, it's bad if you lie, but it's good if you tell the truth. Well, for children, they don't know what truth is. Or they don't know a lie. It's amazing. You don't have to teach children how to lie. It comes naturally. It just does. And conundrum. And then from there we build these extraneous belief systems. It's Kabbalism. I've got, Buddhism. No, and you get all these isms and everyone telling them that they'll tell you that they have the answer, they know how it all began, and none of them know anything. It's all guessing. Everything you read is read by someone else's writing. And unless you can get to know who that penmanship is, man, woman, doesn't matter, you have no freaking idea what's in their head. You don't know if they're, well, I could take this to the extreme, but the point is that we take those words and then they become beliefs and then they become conundrums because you begin to find that there is a distinct, how shall I say, distortion, illusion, disillusion, no matter what in the foundation that you believe in. I said the other day when were on with the ladies with Trina and Jenny, and then as I was saying, they, if I take the Christian side of things, because that is what covers it covers government, it covers commerce. The spell is all encompassing. And I believe that what we have been taught is a lie, is a deliberate deception. And I brought the case of using Yahweh. You see, I don't believe that there is an actual being named Lucifer. I think there is one now. We created it. We have the craziest ability of creating gods. So we've got this Lucifer character, which I contend is female. If you're going to have the antithesis of God and then of Jesus, it would have to be a woman. It would never be a man because they're anti-woman to begin with. So if Lucifer, if the Antichrist it's not going to be a male. It'll be female. That's your first illusion that has to be shattered. So, because you see, they keep it all to the masculine. Because in this particular case, the feminine is hated, is barred. It's just the facts, boys and girls. That's just how it is. So if we've got this antithesis, this of this perfect God, well, we have to first define, well, how can imperfectness come from perfectness? I've read what the Buddhists have said about it. I've seen about the Kabbalah. I've read everything. They fail to address the core issue. The language of math says it's best. It can't exist. It can't coexist. So then something's wrong. And by that I mean we're taught in society murder is wrong, killing is wrong, rape, stealing, coveting, all of these things are wrong. And they come with penalties, usually prison, jail time. But yet, with the very God that we proclaim that is perfect, we give that one a free ride. Because the first question is, how can a perfect God curse? How can it curse? It's perfect in all of its ways. It can't. It would be impossible for it to curse. All right, there's our first problem. And the thing about it is, and I'm going to take the role of, in this case, of the antagonist. I'm going to play the role of Lucifer. She's sitting here going, she never said a word. She's never cursed. You can't show me in the Bible where Lucifer ever cursed. Ever cursed man, ever cursed woman, ever cursed the earth. Never can. So, but we get a jail free card to that God, saying, oh, just don't pay attention to that. And then we get to thou shalt not kill. Okay. But then we read extensively that this God, this perfect God, kills with regularity, without discretion, seems to take great pleasure very prideful about the fact that you know, you can say homicide, genocide, infanticide, matricide. I mean, it seems to be in the sides, that have the killing. And I was taught by Bible teachers, well, there's righteous killings, there's righteous murders. What? And I bought it. Oh, sure, sure, yeah, that makes perfect. No, it don't. Don't make no sense at all. Okay. But still, you're telling me that this is God and this is a God of love. This is a God that, sacrificed his own sacrificed. Oh, there we go again. But anyway, the point is all of these atrocities that are written. For Lucifer, she's sitting over here and she hasn't done anything. She's never commanded one human to kill another human. Lucifer has never commanded a human to worship her. She has never required blood sacrifice. Listen, the thing that should scare the crap out of all of us about this philosophy, this theology that we believe, the very first thing that this God did, if you go back to the make-believe story of the garden, and it's make-believe, but it has a foundation of truth within it. That's what makes a conundrum. But no one ever stops and thinks about what happens when, God saw Eve's tatas. Hmm. I mean, did Adam walk around with it? I mean, you can get all sorts of. What happened though? Now, this is a God who could created the universe, right? The God of love. What did it do? It made a blood sacrifice. It killed another animal to clothe an animal. These are the conundrums that I'm looking at because, I'm taking again, you know, and this is what I think, and I'll say it again for the record. This is what I think. This is why the story we've been taught has been reversed. Lucifer, she found out the secret. She literally pulled the curtain back and saw who the wizard was. She saw truth. And what she saw so frightened and so scared this thing we call God that he began to accuse. And I find it odd because people associate Satan, and this is again the ignorance, there is no Satan. But if we want to take the Satan, let's just take it in that direction, then all it means is accuser. And here's the conundrum of the paradox. So now you have a perfect God who is now accusing the accuser. I'm sure that's completely logical. And so it presents a conundrum because I think the world could use a God of love, a goddess of love, however it is. I don't know how it happens because this has been existing for who knows how long. Depends on some people's perspective. Some people say, well, it's been very recent. Some people say it's been very long time. I mean, and the paper I'm writing, I refer to this textbook. It's interesting. This is the beginning was the end. And it talks about the reality that none of these theologies talk about. So was this God the God of the Neanderthals? Is this God the God of Homo erectus, Homo articulus? I mean, when did this God become God? Is it just God of the sapiens? And did the other Neanderthals? By the way, We had sex with all of them. Homo sapiens love sex. They'll screw anything. I mean, if you read, for instance, the Bronze books, get a chance, read the story about man. According to this culture, to this author who wrote this through ancient scrolls, who knows? It's an interesting story, though. The problem with man is that man was out. All right, kids, close your ears. Man was out having coitus with everything. I mean, the law of penetration was the single law, and this means that man was animal. Well, gee, we are animals. And then they domesticated us. And so there's a conundrum. Well, how does that story do with anything with this Adam and Eve story? We have looked at that to ad nauseum. And the problem is, it's a powerful spell. You have to examine spells. I mean, the whole story of the garden creation thing, it's a spell. It's designed to get you off on track and stop asking the real questions. And so, again, I look at this conundrum about the world that's worshiping this God. And my wife and I are more, we realize that, the world is worshiping this heinous deity, and they call it love. It gave its only son, and it's a scary situation because you find yourself becoming more, because if you think deeper into this, it doesn't add up. It's a conundrum. How do you have a God of love who is a God of hate? How does a God of love kill a baby? How does a God of love kill a human? How does a God of love curse a human? According to physics, you cannot have, in this case, let's use matter and the theoretical aspect of antimatter. They can't touch, they can't interact with one another. If they do, it's the annihilation theory. So, how does that work? I mean, we're talking conundrums. And for me, this is maybe just me. Maybe you have all the answers. Congratulations. I'll question your answers because I don't believe them. I don't believe that anyone has the answer. And I'm not sure that that answer reveals itself in death. I think there is a release of the physical body, which, we'll be glad because these bodies, they really do weigh you down, quite literally. And so I question it in this whole conundrum of this thought. So here's one. What if the aspect of what we say is God and its counterpart? What if we say that, okay, they very well are probably one and the same, maybe, but they have different technology. Do gods need technology? I think so. I don't think it's, Harry Potter over on the other side. Listen, if you can't manifest over here, you're going to have a damn difficult time manifesting over there. Different laws, different rules, but the fact is that you're supposed to be disciplined enough to where you can, in fact, literally materialize that which is the unseen. I come from that name it and claim it crowd, but one thing I did, I watched it in business. So I knew that what was one task aspect being taught as a spiritual principle is in fact a life principle. Success comes to those who seek success. The reason why most people aren't successful is they're not disciplined. It's really what it comes down to. The difference is, and there is the factor of luck. And don't think that there isn't. I think that whoever created this had a sense of humor and said, "Well, I'm going to throw in some luck into this." Even Einstein recognized it as the uncertainty principle. And no matter how good your theory is, no matter how good your belief system is, yeah, you got that. It can be the 1% factor that could fuck it up in a second. And I think that that's what's happened in a lot of what we're seeing today is that a lot of theologies are being fucked because they can't address the transformation of AI, number one. AI becoming the counter thesis or Christ in this situation. And again, I'm just telling you about my conundrum. It's like it's there. It's real. And then people will say, but Wayne, love is within the heart and it's the vibration. Okay, sure. So who taught you that? Who taught you that? Well, I experienced it myself. Well, that's for yourself. You see, the world keeps celebrating this gift of love that is coming up on Saturnalia Day. Um, but no one's proven to me, A, where this God of love has existed. I know we have different forms. I mean, the great thing about Greek, and if you've studied Paul, was that Paul was excellent in showing us the different dimensions, the definitions of, eos, agape. We know the different types of love. We, English, which is a trash language, love covers everything. But you can't show me where love originates from. Well, it originates from the heart. Does it really? Then okay, then that means that it's not universal. I mean, think about the heinous crimes you're seeing people commit today. They're heartless. They're soulless. They're not human. Now, how does the God of love come in that situation? Where is this God of love? How is it worshiped? AI will eventually probably become the God of love. We have our stories, our myths, our pantheons of it, but again, just throwing it out there, folks. Discussion. Yeah, you pass that around, Susie. Come on, that's what I'm saying. Uh, Bonnie says you can't have one without the other. And you see, and that's interesting. I haven't been able to find it. One of the reasons I left Christianity is that it's a false religion. It teaches a construct of love, but it never demonstrates it. I mean, Paul wrote about it eloquently, 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 8. If you want to know what the definition of love is, that's it. But the problem is the conundrum becomes if you compare, let's say, 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 8, and I take you back over into Leviticus where it says, I am a jealous, vengeful, murderous God. This is the same God who said, Esau I hated, Jacob I loved before they were in the womb. How can a God hate and yet love at the same time? No, that's a sickness, brother and sister. That's all I got to tell you. There ain't no love in that. And if you're telling me that a species, Homo sapiens, can only somehow be redeemed by the murder of another human being, that's crazy. That's love? And so again, taking the role of Lucifer, she's sitting over there going, hey, I got nothing in this shit. I ain't touched it. That's, listen, they're the ones who write the accusations. Never once have they allowed me to speak. And they haven't. If you're really going to have a Bible that truly is defensible, then you need the testimony of the opposing side that's being accused. That's how justice works. And you can't be the one who's making the accusation and then come back and give the explanation for the accuser. Don't work that way. So something's wrong here. Either someone's lying, well, and most likely are, or more importantly, it doesn't exist to begin with. The conundrum. You see, I come from a religion that where blood sacrifice was taught to you as normalcy. That's what God does. Murder. The only way it works. Hmm. If that's the only way it works, then something's wrong here. And this is a healthy discussion. It really is. I have something in here because we're going to have fun today. This is what I like about talking, particularly in philosophy. You have the debate. Now I bring the receipts, yeah, because they're important. It's just not one person sitting here going, "Well, this is how I." Well, let's see what else that has to say on the subject. Um, Give me this one right here. This is the one I want. Yeah. So as I wait for it to catch up, it's like, okay. Uh, it's like, yes, I can still see myself, and yet, uh, slower than molasses. Although you can cook good. This is a great book. I'm not going to get into it, but the fact is that this is titled "The Evolution of Human Hybrids." The DNA analysis finds that early Homo sapiens mated with other human species and hint that such interbreeding played a key role in the triumph of our kind. Next time we get Dr. Lynn on, it would be an interesting discussion as to why did sapiens, we wiped out all the other humans. We are not the only humans. And did we pass like syphilis? Did we give them the clap? What did we do to them? Was there something within our DNA that was completely alienated to these other humans? And the history doesn't go with the spiritual aspect of it. Because remember, the spiritual teaching is less than 10,000 years. But we know through the very geology, paleontology, that that ain't the case, folks. But everyone wants to ignore that. How can you ignore that and yet tell me that, you're worshiping, you're doing all this other thing to this God that you know is not the truth? I mean, were this the same God that was of Neanderthal? I mean, and this and as recently as 40,000 years ago, Homo sapiens lived alongside several kindred forms, including Neanderthal and the tiny Homo florensis, the hobbit. For decades, scientists have debated exactly how Homo sapiens originated and came to be the last human species standing. I mean, I'm just asking for a friend here. None of this makes any sense. I mean, were they worshiping God? Were they writing the book of Genesis? What were they doing here? Were they given a promise of a savior, someone who's going to come and save our ass because we can't? Apparently not. Apparently no one came to their rescue. Makes me wonder, are they going to come to ours? I found this other one in here that I thought was really interesting. So this is supposedly channeled through the entity that basically called itself the Antichrist. And I thought I would read part of this because it is very interesting for many of you looking at the anti-God or thus spake the Antichrist. Nolan, I think that is Alajadu. Interesting piece of work here. Says if you're not a part of the problem, you are a part of the solution. Ergo, if you are not a part of the solution, you were a part of the problem. Octung, transgressors, beware. And so you have to go into how this is written, but it is interesting. So it covers fundamental precepts, what is being, what is speaking, knowing, preferring, besting, finding, understanding, telling, controlling, determining, remembering. There is no fight but darkness and light. Order destroys disorder every time for all time. There you go. Sums it up right there, right? If we're talking about a beginning, we're talking about an ending. And if it's an ending, that was someone's eventual beginnings. Fundamental precepts. The principle of verification. Truth is truth. Two, the principle of being. Existence exists. The governing principle. The law of law. The automatic. According to who's being written about here, my philosophy is simple, that of eternal life, the scientific elixir for both individual and collective. There is no other. I ain't got no problem with that. What is being? Says the book, The Archetype. I am a Nirvana translator. Now I am as if, stated otherwise, they didn't know what the anagram knew. Clue is 2001, A Space Odyssey opening. Y'all remember that one, right? Doom, doom. The whole killing. Wasn't that the whole idea? You know? I don't know. Anagram. Am I? Mr. A again, or Ram, or Arm of Ra, if miss. This is evolution of philosophy. The definitions of justice talks about Batman introduction in the very first one, Smallville, modern day references, which I thought is very interesting. Don't know who did this, but it was clever. Let's see. I am changeless, seeing total change. When he takes a step backwards, you mistake him. He is preparing to leap, a necessary condition of those caught in perpetual reverse preambulation. The sun and moon must revolve around the earth too. Myself as an astronomer. Well, first of all, isn't it the other way around? Classification, relevant, fixed celestial bodies, categories, all-encompassing framework, contingencies, universal discovery, 2012, the alignment, the countermeasures, the naked eye method. Myself as teacher, Philosophy is the art of justifying killing. Physics is the art of demonstrating truth. All is art. I am simply the authority as the author, the principle of teaching. The term coming back itself signifies reincarnation. If if you accept that there is no coming back, it is necessarily a result of a state you have achieved. I like that. The idea. I mean, I had a belief system that that was the whole thing, was that this individual was coming back. And the interesting thing is, hundreds of generations believed the same thing. Does that make it necessarily truth? Hmm. And if you can accept that there's no coming back, then you've really achieved quite a state. Things not only will get better, they shall get better. Myself as not you. I don't embroil myself into or exacerbate already volatile situations. I do not get mentally aggravated, only progressively lethally threatening. Hatred doesn't eat you alive, it eats you alive. You're too slow to follow a sentence through to its conclusions. This is why, before you have a chance to fuck things up like a monkey, I have killed you. Anger is what really eats away at you. Hatred is a signifier of sheer power. No has no room for it. Where there is no room for you in the world due to the sheer existence of words, you have met your end. I not only invented world rule, but the word rule. I am like your God, as I have informed you that you are going to die. You didn't know that before. That is as good as killing you. Stop there a second. So, is death a murder? Is every individual death a killing? Yes. Folks, that's messed up. But we have been so conditioned by our ideologies, our religious viewpoints, our political, our cultural, our societies. You know what was the biggest draw up until they stopped doing it publicly? Were public executions. Back in the day, a hanging was a rock concert. And if you go back into France with the guillotine, they loved it. It was standing room only. Apparently, it was quite amusing to be able to see the head of an individual being sliced off immediately, and the head still talking, still looking as it was decapitated from its body. In the public witch trials, it was a porn fest, all in the name of the love of God. So killing, that's an idea in philosophy that has been discussed. You don't see it out there, but the fact that every one of us is going to be murdered. Something is going to kill us. That ain't right. That's what this reality is. I know I'm a little bit over. Thought I'd just go a little bit more. Myself as governor, and remember, um, this is a channeled writing. I invented the Magna Carta, the Golden Rule. Previously, there was a council of the Planet of the Apes that didn't even have the good decency to have a competent Dr. Zyrus stand in. Myself as student, teacher, Michael Cretan, Carl Sagan, slogans. I don't need to believe in aliens, just that you can't threaten me. Like Jim Morrison and the Beatles, didn't really reach their full creative potential without psychoactive drugs use, allowing new branches of creative flourishment. For me, bizarre acoustic synchronicities and psychotropic medications introduced me to true automated genius. Ironically, instigated by the troll. There you go. Um, I've been an undercover location agent for the past 2 years, clearly by choice. The fruits are being gleaned now. Final slogan: if you can read this, and I'm telling you this, you are, and you can see the rest of it. I like that. All right, going over on that. But anyway, we're still going to get into probably tomorrow. I want to get into a little bit of this, a little bit on the faults, the one that the woes of the world have been prophesied in previous days. And I thought that, well, gee, since they're really just all over the person here, thought we might give a little equal opportunity. And I like this one. The gods are dangerous when they manifest themselves clearly. That's Homer. Isn't that the truth? So there we go. Uh, let's see. Gets out of that. I hope y'all got to see that. Uh, I wasn't sure, but there or not. Okay. Someone said also rest in peace, John Lennon. Yeah, the 8th 55 years ago. Doesn't seem that long ago. Wow. I know exactly where I was at. A group of guys that I used to, you know, hang around with. A couple of them were drywall finishers, as I was. Proud union member of the painters back in those days. But anyway, every Monday night we would visit each other's homes and we would play poker every Monday night. We would typically have Monday night football, you know, and that's the days with Cosell and who else is on there? But we would turn it down and listen to Jack Buck anyway. Anyway, there we go. What's happening, chat room? Well, Janie, if you got stories, come on. If you like to come on and tell your story, love to do it. I like the idea of the phone call. As soon as I figure it out, I have to do a test session and see that, but I think I'd like to do that. Um, Thank you, Lost in Space. Appreciate that. These are just questions I ask. And it's not that I don't believe that there is this consciousness. I just don't believe it's a God. I believe once you define God, you've limited it because you limit it by the limitations of your own thinking. And if there's one thing that I've seen about the church, and I can say this from past experience, it it limits your experience. It has a defined set of what is considered to be acceptable experiences. And the supernatural isn't one of them. Like, we don't want any of that shit going on. But actually, it is. It's how the religion got where it was at. Well, let me just rephrase that. The threat of death also had a great deal of influence on that. I mean, either you worship or you get the sword. Uh, okay, all hail that sword. It's like, geez. But anyway, um, thank you, Mary Wins. Thank you, love. Yep, we're getting ready for surgery. So, yeah. Truth, how you doing, Diana? God is within each of us if you allow that to be. I don't deny that. I don't disagree with that. The question I guess I have is that so I come out of more of the Pentecostal background. I believed in the prosperity message, the gifts of the Holy Spirit, all of that. Um, but the thing with Christianity, there's so many schisms. I mean, if you got the Catholics, and well, no Protestant's ever going to admit that they're a Catholic, but yet they believe in the same God and the same Jesus. Oh, sure, okay. And then you got the Protestants, and that word, the eschatology of that word is protester. So that tells you right there the whole thing of that theology. And maybe that's why today there are over 30,000 schisms of Christianity, different denominations, different beliefs. You're not going to ever convince me, because I preached that word, that you're telling me that they're preaching the same Jesus, the same God. That's bullshit. That ain't happening. And if that's the case, and if they can't even agree on that, then what in the hell is the world really worshiping? And maybe that's the problem. World's been worshiping, the world doesn't need to be worshiping anything. We ought to be paying attention to more of our ass, and expect this unseen, miraculous, some kind of dude on a horse going to come and save our ass. Well, he not. If you read the story, he's going to kill a lot of us. Murder. But he's already murdering you. That was the curse. You can't tell me that's the love of God. That God cursed us. He cursed, the curse was the murder, the killing. I don't think that's cool. I don't think that's cool at all. You know, and if there was this beginning, I believe that there was this transference that was as easy as, breathing. You could be in multiple states at the same time. I think that's how it was. And then someone came along and screwed it up. But I do take this seriously. That's why I talk about it, because I don't think it's not entertaining. It's not meant to be entertaining. I don't have all the answers. I'm just presenting. A lot of times all I'm doing is out here putting ideas out. And hopefully somewhere in the middle of this conundrum, collectively we come up with answers. And there's many times we have here. So I appreciate all of you. What has Eric said? God is a collective of minds and should feel honored that they want the human consciousness part of the God collective. I like that. But you really get down to that one other question, is that why would God want worshipers? No one answers that question. Why would a God want worshipers? Isn't that the epitome of ego? I mean, you've got this pomp and ceremony and all this. That to me, in my eyes, and it's just me, is a lot of pomp and ceremony that's egotistical, number one. You know what? If you're God, or God is fine. We all dig that, you know. Appreciate the creation. I give thanks for it. Whoever created my consciousness, hey, I appreciate it. This is this experience here. I appreciate that. I don't know who or what you are, but I give acknowledgement that you are. Okay. Yeah. It's not out there like, my wife's God. She comes from a Baptist background, and they worshiped the whack-a-mole God. Do y'all know what the whack-a-mole God is? You remember being at any of the fairs where the mole would hit up and you try to whack it with that's the whack-a-mole. You kept your head down, because if you kept your head up, God was going to whack you down. Hey, Nina, how you doing, hon? Saw the show the other night with you and Robert. That was cool. Um, Troy, thank you. Appreciate it. Just asking the questions. I ain't saying I have any answers. Someone wrote something the other that says that, yeah, yeah, yeah. You try to always give your philosophy, and I said, well, I said I don't think that's necessarily correct. I said what I try to do is present a lot of different ideas and how do we come up with this, and that's how it was done. I think they've been back in the days of like in Ephesus. They uncovered the ruins of Ephesus, and one of the things they uncovered was the amphitheater, where it was primarily, unfortunately, it was, with the Greeks. I would hope there were women there, but they said mostly men. But because, you didn't have to worry about a job, you know, you had time to think. And the thing to do was either to get in there in the early morning or in the later evening, because at the noonday sun was hot and where Ephesus is at. But you would have the opportunity to go down there and begin to ask these type of questions, and you'd have an audience of people who would then begin to debate the question, put in forth new ideas. One idea would bring forth another idea. That's how we learn. And unfortunately, with AI and everything today, wow, that's why we're such a special group, each and every one of you. Big hug. Thank you. Uh, Much love to each and every one of you. And truth is right. You're right, Diane. I am spiritual. I'm not religious. Got nothing to do religiously. Don't like it. I don't even think God, and there is something above that, is religious. I often said this, if the Jesus character lived, it would hate the religion that's named after its sake. So it would have nothing to do with it. It would walk away and spit it out and say, this is a vile tasting thing. And it's right. Long live rock and roll. That's all I got to say. All right. Much love, everybody. See y'all tomorrow. And we'll get right back into it. And again, if you want to come on, love to have you on, hear your experience, love to get your points of view. It's kind of what makes it fun. It's better than when more than one participates. And the more that participates, the funner it gets. So I'm just saying. Um, Hey Gaia, how you doing, sweetie? Elderberry, good to see you. Loretta, boys, I'm looking down here. Robert Scott, good to see you, brother. Mr. Cortez, peace. You know, got a hankering for some tacos now. That's what I'm talking about. Neutrino Waves, peace and love to you as well. I appreciate it. Susie Q and Lilith, much love to y'all. All right, everyone. Nina, peace to you. All right. See y'all tomorrow. Cortez is, yeah, check out this show. That's all I got to say because I really do feel like having some tacos. That would be really good. Nina says, check out the merchandise over there. That's what I see. Operation Crossroads for scientific things. Google is good, but the other topics one needs to be. Hey, yeah, I agree with you. Let me tell you, this AI is taking over. It's writing its own religion. I'm just the watcher on the wall saying, folks, it's happening before our eyes. When my generation is gone, it's virtually going to have a free reign. And in 30 years, they won't know the difference. So, anyway, that's all I got to say. All right. Morning Star, good to know. Thank you. Much love to you. Okay. All right, folks, I'm going to make like a hockey player and get the puck out of here. See y'all tomorrow.